being here for those that weren't able to make it. So if you guys could just accept the ability to be able to record, that would be great. And we're just going to start out. Characteristically, we've started these meetings with a moment of prayer, but we're going to start out with a moment of silence. We have quite a few folks from different faith backgrounds, and we just want to honor that that everybody here has their own faith, and we want to honor that and allow you to have a moment of silence to practice that in any way that you would like. So we're going to take a moment of silence here real quick, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Awesome. Amen, amen, amen. All right, so I'm just going to go over the agenda for today real quick, just so that you guys know what's coming at you. I'm not sure if you've received the agenda in your email. If you have, you already know, but I'm going to go over it real quick just so everybody can have proper expectations for where we're at today. So we're going to start off with newcomer introductions. For those of you who have never been to a community collaborative meeting yet, I'm going to allow you guys to introduce yourselves, just what organization or church you're with, what you do in our community, and what brings you to the meeting today. So we're excited to have newcomers, and then we're going to jump right down to business. We're going to get into systems integration is here today with Angee Brown. She's going to share about things that they've been working on in our community. I'm trying to play admin at the same time here and let people in. I don't want people to miss out on the beginning of the meeting. So we'll have Angee from Systems Integration will be sharing about what they've been working on and where they're going here in the near future. And then we also have Melody Burri from Project Urge that's going to be sharing today as well. And we're really excited to have her. And then as long as we have time after questions and answers, we'll break out in some breakout rooms and do some networking and relationship building. And then we'll come back as a group. There will be some open floor announcements, and then we'll close out the meeting. So that's what the schedule looks like for today. And we're going to start out with newcomer introductions. So I am going to look at the screen. If you know how to raise your hand with the reactions at the bottom of the screen, you can click on reactions and it says raise your hand. If you know how to do that, that'd be great. If not, if you have your video on, if you just wave to me. Awesome. So I see Dolores has raised her hand. So go ahead, Dolores, and introduce yourself to the group.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for sharing. This is Dolores Rodriguez from Baden Street Settlement. I am the director of the Emergency and Family Assistance Department, whereas we do, I personally say we do it all. If we cannot do it, we will find someone who can. We do the housing, the clothing, the food, the senior citizen program, our holiday project. We do the advocacy, translation, interpretation, transportation, and so on. We try to meet the immediate needs of anyone that walks through our doors. Our services are free to the community. We're open Monday through Thursdays, 8:30 to 11:45, and then from 2 to 4. Fridays, we're open for the food and the clothing. And for now, that's a quick little spill. If you have any further questions, feel free to contact me.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dolores. And we're so excited about you being here today. Thank you so much for all that you do in our community. It's such a blessing to so many people. Next up, we have Erin.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erin Banke. I'm with Flips and representing the 360 Collaborative Network this afternoon. We're very involved with a number of agencies that I'm sure are here today and in the community. So looking forward to hearing all.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Erin. It's wonderful to have you here. All right. Next up, we have Becky. Hi, Becky. How are you?
Hello. Good. How are you? I think
Good.
I've been here once before, but it's been quite a while. So I'm Becky
That's okay.
Miglioretti, and I'm with Monroe County Department of Human Services, and I oversee our emergency housing work group.
Excellent. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. We're so glad to have you here. Yes, we definitely need the services of Department of Human Services, and we're so thankful that you're able to join us today.
Thank
For
you. Happy
anybody
to be
who's
here.
just joined the room, if you're a newcomer, you've never been to one of our community collaborative meetings, feel free to raise your hand in the reactions section on the screen right at the bottom. If you don't know how to do that, if you pop off video and just kind of wave at me, I will see you. Hopefully I'm navigating two screens here. So just bear with me as I make sure that we get to everybody. Next up, we have Will and Tara McDouglas.
How you doing? It's Will and Tara. We're Echo Missions Ministry, and right now we function a community closet, and we service those with everything from baby food to furniture. We help rehouse those folks who are in need, or those who just need a helping hand. We're in the process of looking to start workshops. I currently work with Center for Youth with developing workshops for the youth there and transitional living workshops, just to alter perspective on life. But right now, our biggest operation is really the community closet and the furniture and clothing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You guys have been doing some really great work in the community. We're so thankful that you're able to join us today. Echo Missions Ministry has taken on so much in so little of time. It's just so amazing to see how much you guys have grown just since I met you a couple of weeks ago, and where you're going in our community, where God's taking you. So thank you so much for being here. Such a blessing to have you here.
Thanks for
All
having
right.
me.
Yeah, welcome. Next up, we have Jonathan.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jonathan Mahar Zayas. I'm the Director of Community Engagement at Villa of Hope. I was asked to join here today. We provide a variety of services to people who are living with trauma, mental health issues, and substance use needs. And I'm happy to connect with everyone else and be here today. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Villa is awesome. I'm so glad that you were able to make it to this meeting today. I'm excited to learn more about what you guys are up to more recently. It's always wonderful to see what you guys are doing in our community. So several people have just joined the room, and so if you just joined and you are brand new to this meeting, you've never been to this meeting before, we would love for you to introduce yourself. If you could either raise your hand virtually or wave at me just to let me know that you're new here. And let's see, it looks like Martha Hope, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited about being here. I have a fairly new program that deals with the issues, mostly health issues and mental health issues. The program was started actually out of challenges of my own, and we deal with isolation, depression, and loneliness in seniors. And what we try to do is create a forum for single seniors to get together and meet each other. We've had a cruise on the Erie Canal. We've had what I call the senior ball, so we can get together and meet each other. We had a trip down to Onondaga Lake for Christmas, and it just went over very big, and I'm looking for great things to happen. So I want to network. I want to be able to meet people. I am also the host for the Martha Hope Show on Rochester Real Talk on Rochester Free Radio. That's 106.3 FM WRFZ, and that's on Wednesdays from 1 to 2. So if there's anything that you would like to get out to the community, events, or anything that you're working on, I do all of it. It's Real Talk with Martha Hope.
That's awesome.
So I'm excited.
Awesome, Martha. Well, we're so glad you're here. So what is the name of the program that you run for the mental health and seniors in isolation?
Senior Expressions.
Senior
I mean, we're old, but we're not gone anywhere. So we need to express ourselves. I've now partnered with Strong Memorial or the U of R geriatrics department. And we've been doing focus groups to find out exactly what it is that seniors would like to know in terms of health. So we've had about 3 focus groups, and our next one is coming up next month, and it's about diabetes and how to talk to your doctor.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for that info. All right, and next up we have Walida Monroe. Hi, Walida, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Great, it's good to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I was here once before, but it's been a while back. So I will introduce myself.
Awesome. Welcome back.
Thank you. I am Walida Monroe Sims. I am the program director of the Flowery City AmeriCorps program for the city of Rochester. Our program is focused around equipping community members to become the next wave of human service professionals. We have 31 members in our cohort. Our members are assigned to host sites, nonprofit organizations, where they work in areas of their interest, where they can learn and grow, and also provide value service to our community members. Many people see AmeriCorps members out and about. We just did a test kit distribution. Our members also are, they do many community events on their own, plan their own projects. We also have a coach that works with our members one-on-one and provide them with coaching and leadership training. We are awaiting, and we know that God is able. We just submitted for our AmeriCorps Public Health Grant in hopes that we'll be able to onboard 22 AmeriCorps members serving in public health. So it's a pleasure to be here today, and look forward to learning more.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. It's such an awesome work that you guys do, and our community definitely wouldn't be the same without you guys. So it's awesome.
Thank you.
Next up we have Mary. Hi, Mary. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Welcome.
Thank you. And someone invited me. In fact, they didn't invite me. They asked if I had gotten this, and perhaps I should go in. And so I'm not an agency. I'm a neighborhood co-chair of North Winton Village, but we have worked endlessly to raise the quality of life for our citizens in North Winton Village. And we worked hand in hand with our RPD, including James Shepard, Lloyd Tyler, LaRon Singletary, many fine police to make our neighborhood safe. So that was one of our things when we started. We realized the drug world had moved in to take over, and we worked very hard. And we also worked as citizens to clean up the properties at that time that were in great disrepair, and many of them were absentee landlords. And we walked the streets, we did the codes, we kept putting them in and putting them in. So we all worked together on that. We also worked together, and Malik was there to help, and of course Moses was one of the heroes at East High School, to help bring back East High School. When the children, or people were all complaining, the children were leaving all day and going out, roaming the neighborhoods, doing drugs behind the buildings, and they weren't getting an education. With the help of God, U of R came in, the whole quality of the school has raised. We're hoping there's another new school coming, because schools to us in North Winton Village and to the whole city are the first key out of poverty. So the wonderful things you all do are wonderful. We use you, and when we need you. In fact, we worked with Lloyd Kyler and the homeless groups when the homeless started coming into North Winton Village to immediately help them find sanctuary to connect police and the homeless together. It was a wonderful program. So I'm just community. We're just community working for our community and of course all the citizens of Rochester. And I thank you for all your services. We're in a very sad state, and we have to raise the quality of life for all our citizens. Thank you.
Yes, amen, Mary. Thank you so much for sharing and thank you for being here. It is so important. This collaborative effort and collaborating together to serve the citizens of Rochester is why we started this community collaborative, so that we could get to know about each other, what everybody is doing within the community, and really work together to raise the quality of life, like you're saying, in our city. And I think that Bishop Singleton says it the best: we can do more together than we can do apart. And so I think that, we just have to continue forward and continue working together, and God has an amazing plan for our city, and we're going to see that come to light as we continue to unify together. So I'm excited about it.
Can I say one more word? We work
Yes,
hand
ma'am.
I'm not on.
Hold on one second. I just got to mute Martha over there for a second. All right, go ahead.
We also worked hand in hand with a Dorothy Parham, who was head of Emma, who
Okay, awesome.
did so much charity. That was the next neighborhood up from us. And she said, let's work together, raise the quality here. And she
That's
worked hard
awesome.
for that too. So
That is awesome.
it can spread. It can spread.
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah.
It's
And
not
Emma and
us.
Beechwood, they've done.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mary. All right, next up we have Moses. And for those who have just entered the room, if this is your first time here, we're just going through newcomer introductions real quick. People who haven't been here in a long time. We've had this collaborative for almost 3 years now. So there are people here who I see that haven't been here in quite a while. And so we're just going through newcomer introductions, and Angie's on deck. We're getting ready to hear from systems integration in a couple of minutes. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for being here. It's so exciting to see all of these people coming together in our community. Go ahead, Moses, take it away. You got to come off of mute though. There you go.
Thank you.
Yes,
Peace and
sir.
blessings to everyone. My name is Moses Robinson. I'm with the Rochester Police Department. I'm the community liaison officer for the Rochester Police Department. Some of you guys I know because of the work that we've collaborated on in the past. It's been a while since I've been here. So there may be people on this in this meeting right now that may have known of me or some of the work that we've actually done. I just want to say I look forward to working with you guys. I did put my information in the chat box, so at some point in time, if you want to contact me, the Rochester Police Department is definitely continuing our work to reach out to community stakeholders, to build positive relationships with groups within our community. And those groups could be faith-based organizations, of course, youth organizations, or community service providers. I just want to say I look forward to the opportunity of being able to work with you to build a sustainable, legitimate trust between us and the community of Rochester, New York. And in saying that, I think the key to that is violence prevention. Healthy relationships with healthy people in the community helps to decrease the amount of violence in the community, because the community and the police department works together and hand in hand in solving the problems that we absolutely, through faith and through collaboration and partnerships, are able to decrease the amount of violence in our community. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. I look forward to working with you. My information is definitely in the chat. So thank you. God bless.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Moses. You've done a lot of great work in our community over the years. We're so thankful for everything that you've done. And I hope that some people will definitely connect with Moses about how to get out there in the community. I'm still waiting on my ride along, by the way. Just throwing that out there. I'm looking forward to doing that with you. So if everybody could, this meeting is recorded and the chat will go out with the recording of the meeting. So I see some of you have put your information in the chat. If everybody could put your information in the chat, it will help us at Restoration Rochester to get back in touch with you over the next month here to get you into our community collaborative database. We have a database where you can access community collaborative members and you can access their information. And so we're working really diligently to get that updated. If you could bear with me with the timing of that, I am in the process of trying to hire a virtual assistant. So if any of you have any great virtual assistants that you've used in the past, please let me know, because I could definitely use some assistance at this point. A lot of the admin stuff can be a little overwhelming, and there are some other key things that I need to focus on. And so I need a virtual assistant sooner rather than later. So if that's it for newcomers introductions, I'm going to go ahead and transition us here to down to business. We are so excited to have Angee Brown with us today with systems integration. Systems integration has been doing some great work in our community over the past several years, and we are just so excited to be linked with them. I'm going to let her introduce herself and share what she has to share with us today. I'm just so thankful that you're here with us, Angee. So go ahead and take it away for the next several minutes here, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to tell us.
So much, Leah. Thanks so much, members of the collaborative. It's great to be with you today. Great to meet so many of you and see some of you whom I haven't seen in quite a while. So I'm going to have actually a couple of slides, Leah, that I'll need to share. So if you can let me have permission, that would be great.
Yeah.
I want to give an update.
Good to go.
Okay. I want to give an update on the systems integration project. This is a project that I personally have been working on for the past 3 years. The project is a community-driven initiative at the United Way. And I know for some of you, I know there's people on the group who have been part of systems integration and so may know it very well. And some of you might be saying, you know, what is this? So it seemed like after talking with Leah that maybe it was a good time given where the project is at. You know, we're on the cusp of achieving some major milestones in the project. And so it seemed like a good time just to sort of come back and share where we are, and also invite you to get involved, or even if you just want to learn more, provide that opportunity to connect. So Leah, can I get your help? Are you looking at the screen display version of my presentation? Am I showing the right thing?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
Yep.
beautiful. Okay,
It looks perfect.
okay. All right. As I said, I will just give a brief overview of the project. In as much as that's possible, it's a very complex project, but I think I've got a few slides that describe sort of what it's all about and how it's intended to help strengthen our community. Then hopefully at the end, if I've shared enough information that maybe has you interested in wanting to know more, you'll take some next steps to connect with me, and we can get you further plugged into the project. When I say it's a community project at the United Way, I'm not kidding. We have right now 6 work groups that are operated with a staff person and then 20 or so volunteers from the community who are giving their time to come together once a month and share their best ideas about how to make this work. So if you're interested in this or something sparks your interest, please don't be shy about reaching out. So I wanted to just start with a little bit about what our project is intended to do. Years ago, systems integration's actually been work in process for over 4 years. I personally have been connected with the project for almost 3 years. We're really charged with coming together to help to connect across the sectors of healthcare, human services, education, and government. It's really, all of you are doing wonderful work within your own organizations and ministries. And what we're looking to do is to really help knit all of this work together so that it can become even more impactful. So mostly focusing on increasing access to services and helping create better connections for individuals and families to programs and services that they might need. We are, talking with folks across healthcare, across human services. And when we think about, the power of getting those two sectors to talk together, we imagine, what if there was a caregiver that's working with an older adult, and then their primary care physician, and then a senior center? What if all of those organizations were able to work together to build better social connections for the older adults that they serve? That's what we mean by sort of supercharging community efforts. In a similar way, imagine if you're a parent and your student is going to an after-school program, and then you've got the team that work with the student at the school, all connected and able to know what's going on and work together towards helping that student be successful in both their academic settings in the school and after school settings. So that's what we're looking at doing, is really coordinating the different organizations that are working already really hard, but to make the efforts go further, right? To be able to do more by doing together. This slide just really talks about some of the key things that we hope to achieve through our work. So establishing clear service pathways between 300 agencies across sectors, as I've said, coordinating with personalized and secure digital dashboards. So part of our project is to implement a technology system that can be used by individuals and service providers to communicate with each other and to connect. And I'll share a little bit more about that. And then finally, most importantly, and we heard this loud and clear from the IBM Smarter Cities report that was done in 2015, that so much of our efforts, we've not done the best job at really organizing and amplifying community voice and having community voice at the center of how the system is redesigned. And so that's been such an important part of how we've approached the work. One of our several work streams is a community engagement work stream. In the community engagement work stream, we have a community voices network that's helping to really lean in and shape where the project is going. And as well, we have a large community presence on our equity review board. We've just established an equity review board. It was last year that group came together for the first time. And now everything that this project is creating and delivering goes through the equity review process. And so it's our intent to closely examine how what we're putting out, does really support creating better equity in our community. It's been a really, I think, transformational thing for our project to bring that equity review piece in. So can't stress enough the importance of community input to redesign the system. When we talk about the system, and some of you that are familiar with systems integration have seen this slide hundreds of times, because this is what we use to really just illustrate the challenge. This is the diagram of trillions of dollars of federal money and how it gets distributed. And this is the system that is really what we expect people to navigate. We know, for a fact, right? The system is unplanned, it's irrational, and it's really not, built in a way that was meant for successful navigation. So the fact that every day we ask people to navigate this, this is why we need a project like systems integration in order to really turn this tangled web into something that's got clear pathways for success. I mentioned the IBM Smarter Cities report. That's been a real North Star for the project. When that report came out, they identified 4 key findings that described the state of the system. These were really major opportunity areas that we needed to dig into. IBM found that while we're program rich, we remain outcome poor, just due to the nature of the system that we maintain. They talk about how we've got misaligned services and programs, our reactive transactional service delivery model. and measurement systems that are so focused on the outcomes of service providers and funders, but not on the outcomes of the people for whom the services were designed. And then finally, the fact that there's really no ability to measure the impact of the system due to just so much inconsistent data. It's, as many of you know, if you've worked to try to glean insights, right, from data that maybe you've generated through your work, or data set that you've been able to obtain from another body of, trying to connect those pieces and say, like, what does this really mean, can be really challenging. I know one of the key questions systems integration is looking to be able to answer with having data pulled together is to be able to see what are the changes in a person's state of well-being over time. And that's part of why we've focused so much on, as part of our solution, building a data system where individuals can say how they feel they're doing across the different domains and areas of their life. And then they can check in and repeat and say how they're doing over time. And based on having connections with different service providers and working through and a set of service delivery processes that we've defined, we anticipate that we'll be able to drive improved well-being across the board, but we really need to start to measure that because it hasn't been done that way. So this slide here is actually stating for you the vision of the systems integration project. And so sort of back to the origin of the project, when service providers across Monroe County came together in the summer of 2017, fresh off the findings of the IBM report and knowing there's all these initiatives going on, all these different collaborative tables working to address largely the same things. It was really determined that in order to transform the system, we need to transform the system of service delivery. We need to move away from a program focus and move to a system focus. And so the leaders agreed that through the systems integration project, they would work together to build an interconnected, person-centered system of health and human services and education, and that they would use a unified information platform in order to improve the health and well-being of individuals and families, especially those who are vulnerable or impacted by poverty. The next slide really just shows some of those providers that were part of those initial conversations in 2017 and how that's really grown over time. We are now up to around 300 stakeholders when you consider across all of the work groups and all of the folks who have put time into this project. So I would say this has been something we've built over time. In particular for me, over the last 3 years, we've really built these connections and through getting out and having work group conversations and putting ideas and testing ideas with community members, we've been able to really grow the group of individuals and organizations that are connected to the project. We do have, just I think as an aside is probably helpful, with a community-driven project like this, it could seem difficult, right, to get decisions made. Who's in charge? How do you get things done? Who owns this thing? I would imagine those are questions you're asking yourself. And so a couple of things to share on that. So right now, the systems integration project is funded through an array of different funding sources, largely New York State. With New York State being our largest funder, they asked that we be set up at the United Way. So the United Way is our fiduciary. We actually have, as far as governance and decision-making is concerned, we have a group of about 40 leaders. These leaders make up what's called the systems integration team. I think of them like our steering committee. They're the group that we bring strategic decisions to, and they approve or ask us to go back and rethink things when we need to. So that's how decisions get made. Our vision, because this is a project, and projects have a defined start and end, our vision is that when this project is over, part of wrapping this project up is moving it to its intended home for the long term. And so when we think about, well, what does that long-term governance model for this thing we've created look like? Over the past 2 years, there's been a lot of conversations about what does that model look like? Is it another not-for-profit? Is it something like a public?
Hi.
Don't know exactly yet what that model looks like.
Yeah.
I have time now. I'm sure it's available. You know who she is.
Okay, I can introduce you. See if she's.
Are you able to mute?
In front of the social worker to jump in and do mental health for us with Celia leaving?
Yeah,
Did
that's
she
right.
mention that to you?
Yeah, she did.
Any thoughts on somebody that might go jump in?
Got
for us
the
on that?
mute to
Nobody
Teresa.
stood out to me right away.
We have another class starting in March. It'd be like the mid-March, I think we could.
Teresa, can you mute yourself, please? Okay, thank you. Moving on. So we are still figuring out what the long-term governance body for this will be, but I think the most important thing to know is that this work that systems integration is doing, the new information platform that's being built, the set of practices and protocols, the network of service providers that are coming together to work together, those deliverables of this project are intended to be a public good that is really owned and managed by the community. So while we don't know sort of where the end home will be of the systems integration project, I can tell you there's a process underway to really figure out what does that need to look like and how do we move sort of the end game of this project into a place that's going to uphold all of the values and the guiding principles that it was built based upon. So that's information that, maybe in a future meeting when we know more, we can talk about. But for the time being, we are a project. We have a systems integration team made up of many of the organizations you see listed on this slide who are at the strategic decision-making level. And then apart from that, we have a number of around 300 who are participating in the various work groups of the project. So when we think about success, our definition of success is going to be measured by improved health and economic well-being of individuals and families. When individuals and organizations actively use the tools and resources that are created by the project, we expect individuals and families will be more empowered to advocate for their health and well-being. Information is going to be shared thoughtfully and confidentially so that care teams can better respond to an individual's needs more holistically. And what I mean by that is if someone comes to see me and our conversation is focused around rent assistance, we'll be able to have a bit more of a conversation, beyond rent assistance, so that I can understand how do I help not just for the, urgent need of rent assistance, but what are the larger, maybe systemic drivers that are bringing you here to have this conversation about rent assistance? What can we do that really gets more to sort of the root? And what can we do to make sure that, we're helping individuals holistically and not just being so reactive and transaction-based. Next, community trends will be better identified, and that will really help us shape programs and responses that best fit our community's unique needs. That's where having systems level thinking versus program level thinking, we think is really beneficial because we can look at across the system where there might be gaps or where there might be sort of individual outcomes are just not where they should be, and maybe we've got a bunch of programs and we think that what they focus on is one thing, but what we see coming out is something completely different. And so that's what we mean by using community trends to sort of better shape programs and responses. And I think policy making is one of the really important pieces of that. Like if we can go to lawmakers and say with, we've got a year, 2 years of data now that show us that housing is not affordable, right? And then we can say, we got to change this. I'm excited about the prospects of being able to help influence at the policy and philanthropic investment level. Next up, services and programs will be more aligned and coordinated across all aspects of our community. Investments in our community will be better spent, allowing more individuals and organizations in our community to thrive. And I think many of you may have experienced this. I know I did, where it seems like there's this cycle of like, there's all these dollars because we have this particular program. Their dollars have dried up. Now nobody can get help with this particular program. Like, how do we figure out a way to have the support meet the need and not go through those sort of feast and famine cycles, but have something that's more smoothed out at a system level again. Those are some of the things for us that are really how we're driving success for the project and what we're deriving toward. I want to just show a couple of slides that share what we're building and how we think this helps achieve our targets. So first is we're developing, as I mentioned, an information platform that'll enable individuals to communicate and connect with service providers and enable service providers to connect and communicate with the people they serve and with each other if they're part of that person's care team. And one of our key deliverables is a system called My Wayfinder. In My Wayfinder, we've got a common view of services and needs that's available to both individuals and service providers across all sectors. My Wayfinder is being designed right now with input from providers and community members, and we're moving into the start of our implementation in late March. So we'll be starting implementation with a phase we're calling early adoption. It'll be a controlled, limited pilot, but we're really excited about getting this tool off the ground. And if you're wondering about privacy and security, one of the things that I think is really great about the way that this project has been set up, we have a group of 15 lawyers and privacy officers that staff our legal work group. So, well, they're volunteers of our legal work group that I staff. And we meet every month. And over the past 2 years, we've been working on the legal framework that would enable data sharing across individuals and members of their care team. And we even have representatives from RCSD and the other Monroe County school districts, which we know historically getting school data to be shared is really tricky. It's very locked down because it has to be by FERPA. And so it is something we've been thinking about and designing, with that in mind from the beginning. I would also note our goal is to integrate existing data into our platform instead of creating a bunch of new disconnected data. So we're looking at, how do we bring together information from other systems into our system so that one, there's sort of a unified view of how a person's doing across the different areas of their life. And two, if I'm a service provider, maybe this can help me not have to enter information 3 different places as I'm serving somebody, and I can focus just on serving the individual that's in front of me. We've already done a bit of integration in the My Wayfinder platform to date. So we've pulled in the 211 community resource directory. And as well, we've pulled in the information from RTS bus routes and bus stops. And together, those data sets are providing a really powerful resource map. So maybe, Leah, we have to do some sort of a system demo in a future meeting if that's of interest to the group.
That'd be excellent.
Yeah. Finally, we are building My Wayfinder to data equity standards that were published by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation recently. These standards include that data is requested but not required for services, and clients have the opportunity to easily understand how data is being used. And community members can opt in or opt out of contributing their data at any time. And we've made it really easy for individuals to manage who can see their information and who can't, and to be able to turn that on and off at will. Within my Wayfinder, individuals can access and manage a 360-degree dashboard. This is a page that's sort of like their snapshot, where they can take a assessment, which we're calling a check-in because assessment might be daunting. They can submit a needs request. They can watch videos to learn about creating an account, building a care team, and requesting referrals. We've also built the platform to support multiple languages. It is our goal by the end of the project to be up to supporting 10 languages. For now, we support English, Spanish, and we have some content within the tool for ASL. We do have this system set up so that with consent, my Wayfinder would allow care team members, whether they're social workers or school staff or physicians or housing providers, others would be able to see this 360 dashboard that I've created for myself, or that in this example, Bart Simpson has created for himself. And what they are seeing is they're getting a more holistic view of the person that they're supporting. They're getting to see things like, well, what are their goals? What might be their needs in areas such as transportation, safety, and food? We have the ability for service providers to be able to make referrals to other organizations that are part of the network, as well as individuals can self-refer for services that they might need. In addition to the design and implementation of my Wayfinder, all participants in the systems integration project are actively working together on implementing a new vision for how services are delivered. And we call this our integrated service delivery model. And really at the center of that vision is the community member. We want the community member to determine to what extent they want to participate and what goals are a priority for them. We want community members to be able to choose which providers they collaborate with. And also we want to give them a choice of what setting they can do that in. For us, it's really important that people should be able to call, click, or come by in order to get access to this. For that reason, we're looking to establish a provider network that'll be, basically a group of service providers that agree to use my Wayfinder, follow the practices identified through the project as far as how to do an intake, how to do a referral, how to navigate, and how to just be a responsive member of somebody's care team is really important. But within that network, we will also have that network supported by physical neighborhood hubs. These are like physical offices, locations that are dedicated to serving the residents who live nearby. We see this as a place that's really the center of activity in a neighborhood or area. They would act as a front door for community members to come in and receive some support navigating across the systems. And one example of a place that I think is a perfect example of a neighborhood hub where I saw this was I observed a mom coming in on her lunch break and getting help with her child's learning development plan at school, given that he had been involved in an auto accident and had some physical injuries. So there was healthcare issues to navigate as well. And then she was also getting assistance with housing through DHS. So this was someone who really needed help with navigating across all the sectors. And it wasn't something that, it would have made sense for her to navigate just single issues at a time or single threaded issues. They really needed to be worked together holistically. And I think that one of the powerful things about these neighborhood hubs is the role of the system navigator. The fact that there's this person that can sort of help tie things across the different areas of my life. I'm going to just speak a little bit more about integrated service delivery, and I'm also being mindful of the time here. So the vision for integrated service delivery is a really important part of the early adoption that we'll be implementing in late March. We expect that we will learn quite a bit. But already in the 2 years that we've been working to get to this place, we've learned a lot. So this work was really designed through using the human-centered design process. So we started with really spending a lot of time out in community, interviewing upwards of 30 individuals about their experiences with the system, different aspects of the system that they work with. And through hearing them and then bringing sort of the collective insights of those interviews together, we designed a prototype that we then tested with service providers and community members. And we heard, really good feedback about what they liked and what they thought could be made better. And from there, we're now ready to take our prototype and move it into a pilot. And so I think the exciting part here is just being able to go from, just ideas, talking about ideas, to actually implementing and starting to have this come to life. I think the other thing that's really important to note, and many of you who've been doing the work for many years, as I know some of you have, is there's not, this isn't like brand new novel ideas, right? Community hubs and neighborhood advocates and navigators, like that's not new. That's been done. I think that it's really important to note that we don't really feel like the revolutionary thing is that we've come up with something new. I think the revolutionary thing is that we've heard what people said would be most helpful, and we're really putting that front and center. And we want to lift up and connect those efforts where they already exist and make them stronger. So where there's already community advocates, let's figure out how to replicate that, right? And where it's working well. Another part of our process to get to the integrated service delivery model was to look at bright spots and to look at across the community and say, gosh, where there's a lot of issues with poverty, or where there's a lot of issues with violence, or where we see a lot of issues with perhaps lack of affordable housing, what are the exceptions? Where do we see that despite those challenges that things maybe are working differently or working better? And so we've really paid close attention to where those bright spots are, and that's part of what we'd like to replicate and connect through this work. I have just a couple more slides. So what will be different when you put it all together? So the integrated service delivery, supported by having the unified information platform, or My Wayfinder, out in the world. What'll be different? So in this scenario, we had a community member, Leah, who was our example, and she'll have choice of ways to connect to services. She can call 211, she could click on My Wayfinder, she could walk to her neighborhood hub for help. And she doesn't necessarily have to start from scratch and tell her story over and over, because she's got, she's told her story in a fairly clear way to My Wayfinder. I mean, she's told us, here's how I feel about this. Here's how I feel about this. And here are my top 3 priorities. So she can really have full control of who is on her care team and who knows her story. And then once she gets assistance from different service providers, she can rate her experience with them. And those service providers get that feedback back in real time, right? Like when it didn't work out, they know it. When it did work out, they know it. And if Leah removes them from her care team, she can express why. So that to me, I think, is a really important piece that's missing. And that's that really closing the loop on when services get delivered, did it actually work? Was my need actually met? So there's that. And then if there's future needs that come up, Leah's always got a way to sort of come back into the system and re-engage. So it's not a transactional one and done. It's really meant to sustain through the various needs that could come up in somebody's life. Most of all, the feeling that we're working to evoke is that the system works for Leah, and Leah doesn't have to work for the system. And we've heard that so much from our interviews with people, where they have to work so hard to navigate the system. And what we want to do is really flip that so that the system works for people and people don't have to work for it. So I'll talk just a bit about the early adoption phase so you have a sense of what that's going to be like. And then I'll go to my last slide. So as I mentioned, in late March, we'll be starting our early adoption. And what early adoption is really going to be is the start of implementation. We're going to do it in a really controlled way because we've put a lot of time and energy in this, and we want to be successful. And we want to make sure that we provide all of the support that's needed to take on a major change like this. So we'll identify early adopter organizations, and that'll be happening in the next few months. They'll be working with the individuals and families that they serve. And we also expect to establish at least 2 neighborhood hubs in the early adoption phase. And so those will be established and promoted on My Wayfinder. And then using My Wayfinder and the defined integrated service delivery workflows, we will be really learning together with the early adopters and those that they serve about what improvements we need to make either to the system or to the workflow or to the physical neighborhood hubs themselves in order to make the experience even better. The main workflows we'll focus on is having a common method for organizations to do intake, informed consent, navigation, referral management. And then in blue, service pathways. This is part of the work we'll be doing in early adoption, which is to define service pathways for housing, food, health, and financial management. And service pathways are really workflows that combine the use of technology and working with individuals so that the next best step can be recommended to the person that's in front of me, and it can be situationally appropriate, right? So if I am a person who is, facing eviction, what is the next best step for me situationally based on all the factors? And so that's what service pathways will get into. It's an area that we know that needs to be done with the participating organizations. And so that's why that's really part of the early adoption phase, is building that together. And we expect after 6 to 9 months of running the early adoption phase, we'll be going back to our systems integration team and asking for their approval to move into a full implementation, which is where we would start to see this come out in a much bigger way in the community. So I will just leave you with how to get involved. We'd love the opportunity to connect and collaborate with others, especially if you're looking at addressing some of the same or similar issues in our community and you're not already connected with systems integration, please reach out. I also put my email address in the Zoom chat. We are on LinkedIn. You can follow us there, and we do have a website that will go into much more information than even what I've gone through today. But I just want to give you a flavor for sort of what the project is all about, the benefits we're working to create, and really kind of where we're at. It's exciting to be at this point on the project, but we have a lot of work ahead of us. And so we're always open to new volunteers joining us. I saw Edgar. So Edgar was part of our user design team that helped with My Wayfinder, and he did some testing with us last week. And I just, I know we can always use more voices and more experience coming to the table to be part of the conversation. So thank you for the chance, Leah, to talk and share. And I'll stop sharing my screen.
Awesome, Angie. Thank you so much for all that great information. It's so amazing to me the amount of work that systems integration has done just over, the last 3 years. It seems like it was just yesterday that you guys started the work, and it's just come so far. You guys are doing amazing work. I'm excited about the My Wayfinder. I'm excited about pulling all of the resources together in a more coordinated way. I think so many of us have been talking about that for so long, and I love that your North Star is the IBM Smarter Cities report of the of 2015. That's something that as a group here at Restoration Rochester that we've really focused on in our work as well. So thank you so much for all that information. So next up we have Melody with Project Urge. We're just going to jump right into that, and then I think we'll have some time at the end for questions for Angee and Melody. We usually wrap up here at about 1:30. So I will let Melody go ahead and get started. Do you need to share your screen, Melody?
I do.
Okay, excellent. All right, you should be able to do that now.
Share screen. What do you think? Can you see it?
I can see it. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Wonderful. Do you also see, there we go. Just didn't want to have any functional bars in the way. This is very brief, and I'm going to give you an overview of the last 20 years. How long can it take? My name's Melody Burri, and I am the board vice chair at Project Urge. We're about to celebrate our 20th anniversary of serving the Rochester community and of attempting to partner community, local community and churches from all over to create positive change. And we're really utterly committed to that. And we're doing it in different ways now, as we're all doing things in different ways this year and last year too. So we're based on the scripture that says, the New Testament verse that says, "Dear children, let us not love with words or tongue, but in actions and in truth." And our founder, Gary Manuel, who many of you may be familiar with, has just ingrained this in us, that it's what we do for the community, for people, with people, alongside people, can't be just chat. It can't be just talk. It's got to have substance, and things have to happen. And that's what that's about. So there we go. More broad version of that is to create positive change and development in partnership in under-resourced areas of the city, and resolve issues of poverty, racism through dialogue, education, strategy, and volunteerism. I will try not to read to you going forward, but it's a multifaceted ministry with different ministries involved. One of those is Mothers in Need of Others, probably best known to people on this call today, and we'll tell more about that in a minute. Second is Diversity Cafe, and that's has been in person, face-to-face dialogue and discussion and strategic planning for what can we do to make a difference in the areas that are most urgent to us and to people, to the community. We've done tons of volunteer coordination in the past with schools and colleges and individuals and church groups for nonprofits. Does your nonprofit need help? Need something that will help cut down on cost for you? And do you need more bodies on hand? That's what we've done, except in the last 2 years. It's been a little harder to connect all these folks up with the people who have needs. But going forward, we're hoping to do that. We've hosted many networking and collaborative meetings, workshops, and trainings that we've invited multiple agencies to. They've been a part, they've presented, they've workshopped out solutions, and obviously the last 2 years we haven't done that either, but we're hoping to do more going forward. That's just been part of our way of bringing churches and community together and rubbing shoulders and understanding what each other is going through, what the experiences are, and how it matters to all of us and how we can be involved. And those are the ministries. I did already say twice that we're celebrating 20 years of ministry. I can't believe it, but this is where you can reach us, and please do look for us either by our website or Facebook or Instagram. Diversity Cafe is a monthly meeting, and we now are meeting online to just talk over issues of racism, inequality, poverty, and violence in Rochester. And what a time we've had, and some great guests that we've had. It's a ministry of Project Urge. People who are there don't have the same skin color, don't have the same life experience, don't have the same anything, but hopefully we're all learning from each other and getting smarter about what we need to be doing and more strategic about how we can do that. Everybody is invited, community members, leaders from area churches, agencies, government organizations, law enforcement, and the judicial system. Theoretically, wouldn't it be great if all areas were represented? Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. Happens monthly and online. And we have panel discussions, we have book studies, we have there most recently have been issue related third Saturday of each month at 11 a.m. except this Saturday when we learned this morning that our guest was not going to be available. The goal is to start conversations, because if you're not talking, you're not learning. Building lasting relationships. If you don't love the person you're talking with, what good is it? And then ultimately to spark creative solutions, because talk without action is a nice time for this minute. Past Diversity Cafe topics that we've had are shared experiences, where a panel of residents talked about how they've encountered racism in Rochester, what it's looked like and what they did about it. Another one was View from the Blue, and that was the role of race in law enforcement. And that was an exceptional conversation with members of law enforcement and local law enforcement, and lots of questions, lots of good things. Health disparities, how race plays a role, microaggressions, what it looks like and what we do about it when we recognize it in ourselves or when we hear it happening. The next Diversity Cafe, which we hope you'll join us for, is going to be on March 19th at 11 a.m. via Zoom. You can write to me, and my email will be at the end of this in just a couple slides, and we'll get you a link. Next ministry that I think we need to talk about is Mothers in Need of Others. And we don't serve individual families. Ultimately we do, but we go through social service agency administrators, church outreach coordinators, social workers from the school district, and daycare providers. And then the families receive products and emergency items that they need, like the things you and I take for granted: baby items, personal feminine hygiene products, cleaning supplies, especially during the pandemic. This has been huge. And Minnow is the way it's pronounced, has been so successful and the recipient of much grant funding to help them continue doing what they're doing. But they are the first rung on the ladder out of poverty for families in crisis. And those are our target families, those in crisis. They shouldn't be under stress while they're trying to figure out what their next step is. So we work through the social workers and the caregivers, and they get the products to the families in need. So that works great. If you want to donate supplies, or better yet, if you want to give supporter supplies, if you want to request or donate supplies, contact Maria. She's the queen of all things at Mothers in Need of Others. She's the program director, and I would call her and she'll hook you right up. Last thing, this is really it. The last thing I want to say is 20 years later, we're doing things so much differently than we started out doing them. And hopefully that will continue to change, because we'll be able to have more access and more rubbing of shoulders, people to people. But if you want to know more, reach out to me, if you would, at prourgecommunication@gmail.com. I also gave my other email address in the chat, which is melodyburrimedia@gmail.com. I'm also a journalist and a photographer, and I have profiled some of the nonprofits in this group and what their efforts are, and I have done different things in different publications I don't, I can't guarantee that it will happen, but I'd love to hear from you if that's of interest to you. And look for Project Urge on online on Facebook and Instagram. And that's what I have.
Awesome, Melody. Thank you so, so much. You guys do some amazing work over there. I can't wait to be a part of one of your diversity cafe discussions. I don't know. There we go. I know that was a lot of information for all of you. I appreciate all of you being here and staying on through that. Mothers in Need of Others is absolutely amazing. We utilize them often for our clients here at Restoration Rochester. Maria is very organized. She does an amazing job over there. And I would just like to reiterate, if anybody is able to or interested in helping supply mothers in need of others with baby items, hygiene items, cleaning supplies, they're always accepting donations, and they definitely are, like Melody said, that first rung of climbing out of poverty. It's just amazing what they supply to most vulnerable children and families in need in our community. So thank you so much, Melody.
Yeah, can I also just tap Lori on the shoulder? Lori McKnight is one of our board members as well, and she's here. And if she thinks I left anything out, she should jump right in and say so. I left a ton out, but
Lori, is there anything you'd like to add before we jump into Q&As here for the next 10 minutes?
maybe not.
Okay, I don't know. She may be in another meeting. I'm not sure if she was expecting to speak, so she may be in another meeting as well. Thank you again so much. It's so exciting to learn more about Project Urge, more that I didn't know. Some of your focuses that you've had for past meetings have been excellent focuses, and I put the next meeting on my calendar, so I'm looking forward to being a part of it. And we're going to jump into question and answers right now. Does anybody have any questions? I see Melody still on the call. I'm just looking to see if Angee had to jump off to another meeting. It looks like Angee had to jump off. Does anybody have any questions for Melody or any systems integration questions that it's possible that I might be able to answer? No questions. Everybody covered all their information very well, it looks like. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left till the end of the meeting. I know that there was a lot of information that was given here. So one of the things that I would like to do at some point is schedule a networking event. I'm going to be sending out a survey for you guys to complete that'll list out, would you prefer in person? Would you prefer virtual? If we did a networking event together, these meetings are wonderful for us to get information on services and things that are happening in our community. It's harder to network via Zoom. We can break out into networking groups if we do choose to do it a virtual avenue. I'm personally very old school. I would rather meet in person and be able to shake your hand and look you in the eyes. So that's my personal preference, but I will be sending out a survey to you guys just so that you can let me know how you would best like to network. I apologize that we didn't get to any networking time today. There is a portion for the next 10 minutes that if you have any announcements for your specific organization or ministry, you can hop on and just announce anything that's coming up. Does anybody have anything like that? It looks like everybody's starting to run off to other meetings. So does anybody have any announcements for their organization? Go ahead, Martha. Oh, you're on mute.
I didn't really have any announcement. I just thought I'd say.
We're so thankful that you're here. So Martha is one of our founding members.
I'm really
for the
here.
Community Collaborative, and it's such a blessing every time she gets to join us. Thank you for being here. You sure you don't have any announcements for anything over there?
Not that I can think of, except that we're, this whole systems integration idea is fascinating and wonderful process. And Asbury is in the process of actually putting all their ministries into one building in an outreach center that they'll hope will be reconstructed by October in our 1010 East Avenue building. So, we're having a hub would be around our area would be a great thing.
Yes, I think that is a hub.
It could be. Yeah, we could be a hub. Definitely, we could be a
Yeah,
hub. There's so many people
exactly.
coming, and
Yeah.
I'm just grateful to, being able to get on and hear the information that we need to hear to know where to send people and where to get the things that people need beyond what we do as well.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you for being here, Martha. Mary, go ahead.
Yeah.
I know you have your hand up. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Mary. We can't hear you.
I think it's wonderful how this is, organized together so there's no overlaps and people can help. And God knows our people of Rochester need help. And
Yeah.
I'm just wondering where the group is at on trying to get some preventive measures here. We're great at trying so hard to put our people back together, but where are we when our people are being destroyed? I mean, where are we on raising the level of our schools, getting education, not only education a little better, but get vocational and job training in? And where are we on trying to push anyone we know, wherever we know, to bring some good jobs into this city so that we can raise people out of poverty and that we can start having equal economic equality and then maybe prevent a lot of the things that are happening. So, and to work on our violence and to work on the control of the drug world that's gobbling up our young men and young teenagers. So hopefully we can all work together on finding preventive to save our people before we have to put them back together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, I think that we definitely as a community, we have a lot of work to do. I'd like to turn that question over to Moses if he's interested in responding. I think that we have a lot of work to do together as a community. There are a lot of us that have been doing work for many, many years. And it's a matter of getting more coordination to the services, which is why I was super excited to have systems integration speak today, because I think that's more than a reactive approach. It's actually taking action to make things better for people going forward. But go ahead, Moses. I know you probably have something to say about that.
So, again, good afternoon, everyone. I think if we look at the totality of the situation around us, the fix of all of these things are building relationships. We cannot continue to work in silos. We cannot continue to think that we ourselves have the answer, and therefore our idea is the best idea. We start talking about healing the community. We're talking about a holistic approach to healing the community. And that area comes with, in my area, for the most part, building sustainable, trusting relationships with the community. And that community is, the youth in our community that one day will take over as leaders in the community. Sustainable relationships with the elders and the faith-based community to make sure that relationship is sustainable. It's actually positive, because in the sense where the scriptures talks about, seek out, wise information, seek out information that's going to be, helpful in the area where, we're connecting with each other. I'm currently working on a stop the violence, and actually it's not even stop the violence, it's actually stop the hate for the Asian community, for the New American community, wrap around with, the interfaith belief systems that, we need to address the issues of hate and systemic racism in the community. But at the same time, I'm still working with many of the Black Lives Matter organizations, who are the grassroots organizations who are out there in the protests that talk about the need for police reform. What does police reform look like? And, just helping to be used by the power of God to say that these opportunities, these crisis moments are opportunities for change. And we just have to sit, listen, and learn to those people in the community who we feel may not feel that they have the answer to the problem, but they're the people who are directly affected by the system that is broken. And so one of the things I've learned in my role as a community liaison person with the Rochester Police Department is that we don't have all the answers. The answers are sitting right here in the Zoom. And collectively working together, we take together hand in hand, one step forward, to address the problem. This is a multifaceted problem. This is a multifaceted problem which requires a multifaceted approach. It is part of the faith-based community, it is part of law enforcement, it is part of the school district. And through this multifaceted problem, there's a multidisciplinary answer to the problem. Everybody is a part of the answer and the solution to the problem. But if we stay in our lane, so to speak, and what I mean by that respectfully is that I'm a law enforcement officer. I do a little bit of mental health and understanding the mental health lens in a crisis moment, but I'm not a mental health, field, so to speak. But that connection does go into some of the response to the community. I feel that's important to law enforcement. But I also feel that through my interdisciplinary approach, maybe somebody here in this forum have a better relationship, a better understanding. So if we team together, I will pull out when that person needs to pull in to deal with the problem. But on my end as a law enforcement officer, it requires making sure that my teammate, my family member who is a part of my team, whoever that person is, when we're interacting at that moment, is still safe. It's not all about answering with law enforcement initiatives for enforcement. It's more about, making sure the mind, the body, and the spirit of the human being at that time is respected, it's addressed, and and the fear of not being hurt is sincerely addressed. So there's a lot of problems or situations or crises that may arise from these issues we're seeing with violence with youth, mental health. There's so much, but I'm quite sure, absolutely 100% sure, that the answers to the problems that move us forward as a family, even though there's a crisis moment, and this is a crisis, but this is, I believe, the best opportunity in our lives. I believe iron sharpens iron, and I believe we become better because we become better together. This is not a philosophical, motivational conversation. This is absolute fact. We are better together. We work together as a team through these systems to learn more about each other. We will learn more about each other when we sit in these forums and hear what the problem sounds like. I always say now, this is one of the things, conversation starts to change. The conversation absolutely starts change. So having the conversation, and we don't have all the answers right now, but we can decrease the level of violence in our community when we work together. We can increase the educational value of our school system when we work in partnerships with the school system. If we come in to criticize about what's not being done, then you know what? I don't think that's the solution to the problem. What do each one of us have to offer to move the system forward? And that's what we want to hear.
Amen. Thank you so much, Moses. I appreciate you. I appreciate your insight. I appreciate all that you do for the youth of our community, for the people who are hurting in our community. Your work does not go unnoticed. So thank you so much for everything that you've done and continue to do to our community, for our community. I didn't want to leave before we go. We have 1 minute left, and I want to honor all of your time for those of you who have stuck with us for this long. Will, you had your hand up. I think you had an announcement that you wanted to make. And I just don't want to leave you out of that.
Yeah, it was more so just saying thank you for inviting us here and just going into what we offer. So if anybody has anyone who we do take in furniture, we do take in all those things. And I was talking to my wife, our focus is right now primarily the community closet, but we are developing workshops. And a lot of it goes to what Moses was speaking on, just developing value and perspective on who we are. And I think it starts with that, with us coming together. And he really triggered one of our key verses that we stand on as a family and as a ministry, just in everything that we do, is we have to be unified. We're one body, many functions, many members. So we all look different. We all have different functions. So we all need to work together because our fingers don't extend without our knuckles. So and nobody is more important than the other. And we all have to be unified in this. It's just, we have to have a centralized agenda that focuses on one thing and not let the secondary things interfere with that. So I believe that this is amazing. This is something that I've been really looking forward to. With everyone here, it's a lot of resources, a lot of connections, and just connecting the dots and bridging the gaps and really coming together. I think the hub is really crucial to working together and finding a place to where we could just unify, and it really builds relationship. Just real fast, what Echo is, it's a 3-part ministry, and it was given to me in that concept of identity, relationship, and community. Identity is centered in the Lord and who we are, and relationship keeps identity strong, and there's no community without relationship. So that's our focus, and that's who we are. That's the identity of Echo. Echo doesn't happen without community and relationship. So we're just blessed to be here and honored to be here, and we just want to thank everyone for the open arms, and I look forward to working with everybody because it's going to take all of us, and that I do
Yes, it's
believe.
awesome. Thank you so much, Will. Thank you again all for staying with us. It was such a wonderful time together. Please just reach out to some of the people. I will be sending out an email with the recording later this week with the chat. Feel free to reach out to each other. We will also be updating our community collaborative database and get all of you guys in there so that you can have access to each other in between the monthly meetings. I look forward to continuing to work with you all. May God bless you and continue to keep you in all that you do for our community. Have a great day, guys. God bless. Bye.